Chad's up next. Chad is Scott's buddy from business school.
I think it's the Chad.
So it's time for the Chad to come up. Chad? The Chad, sorry.
The Chad, please. Thank you. All right, here we are. This day has finally arrived for everyone. So, anyway, if it wasn't already obvious, good evening. I'm Chad Arkoff. Here's Scott, a friend of Sue's. Before we go any further, I thought I'd answer the first question, at least probably the first question that's on Sue's mind. Sue, I'm going to shave before the pictures tomorrow, but I know you're not a stranger to weird facial hair because, you've been dating I know what this looks like, so I thought this shouldn't scare you. But before I really get into things, I want to at least give a thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Gaynor and Mr. and Mrs. Shapiro. You guys have opened your home to us, and you put on a great dinner. And if raising 2 children, if this is an evidence of success of raising 2 wonderful children, then at least the evidence... Yeah. 3 children. Oh, 3 children. One is not wonderful. I guess what I'm saying...
Good job, Dad.
However many children here, you're all but if success is measured by raising these 2 children, then you've definitely done something right. And if success is measured by the amount of Facebook posts and pictures, you deserve the Nobel Peace Prize. It's really unbelievable. So I think it was mentioned in the introduction, but let me just go ahead and tell you the story myself. The way that I know Scott is because we first met in 2009. We were both business school students at Berkeley. In fact, the real way we met was, if you've ever seen that scene in Forrest Gump walks down the bus, and it's like, seats taken, seats taken. Well, I was on the way to an orientation event. Every seat was taken. I sit next to Scott. He was kind enough to let me sit next to him, and we sort of really hit it off. But I think where we really got to know each other was all the traveling that we did. So in our first year of business school, we went to Argentina and Brazil together. In our second year of business school, we went to New Zealand and Australia. And, one of the things I think that Scott taught me in all these warm weather trips is that it's actually fashionable to wear shorts that are like this. That's okay. But, the guy's from LA, so we'll give him a break. On the East Coast, you couldn't pull that off, but, for Scott, I guess that's all right. But we'll talk a little bit more about travel later. It was through becoming friends with Scott that ultimately I was blessed to become friends with Sue, who will soon be his beautiful wife. Throughout business school, Sue was making frequent trips up to the Bay Area. She was a teacher from Southern California as they knew her, and I really hope you got frequent flyer miles or whatever for all those trips. You could probably fly us all home at the end of the weekend with the amount of trips you did. But, the days of our collective friendship went on, and those days became weeks, and those weeks became months, and those months have now become years. And, we spent so much time together, laughing, eating, hiking, eating, scheming, and may I say eating again, because we've done so much eating together. It has been a wonderful gastronomic friendship, I would say. But, at every juncture, whether it's play or whether it's business or whether it's serious conversations, you guys have opened your hearts and opened your home, and you've always been there, and I'd like to thank you for that. But I think what I really want to do for a moment is talk a little bit more about Scott, right? You're supposed to tell a story about people during these things. You're supposed to think about your best memory and maybe one who wants to forget. And I thought I'd share at least a story or two about Scott and maybe wrap it up. So as I mentioned, Scott and I were fortunate enough to do a lot of traveling together. In our second year of business school, we went to New Zealand. We were there with actually a group of our friends. And I'll share some facts about New Zealand with you guys that you may not know. New Zealand is a very sunny place. It's actually the skin cancer capital of the world. It gets a lot of sunlight. So it's very difficult to go to New Zealand and not get sunburned. So as Scott and I and our friends, we were there and we were hiking and kayaking and finding places to go bungee jumping. All the things that you do while you're pursuing a degree in higher education.
Right.
We got a sunburn, right? And so we were outside having fun during the day and getting sunburned, and at night we were cooking meals. And Scott was like taking the lead on being our chef. If you've ever hung out with a guy, he doesn't let anyone else really take control in the kitchen. And if you've ever seen Scott take control in the kitchen, he does some things that are a little bit different, right? He's got his own style of cooking, his own style of eating. And one sort of, I guess, product, if you will, that he was using while we were cooking is something called beef tallow. And do people know what beef tallow is? Because I didn't until I went on vacation with Scott Shapiro. But beef tallow, essentially, is kind of like a fat rendering from meat. It's kind of almost like a wax or a butter. It stays solid at room temperature. You know, the details aren't that important, but the point is, you can cook with it, you can grease a pan with it, you could like flavor a stir fry with it. But what Scott chose to do with it was treat his sunburn. We were staying in this hostel, and I forget which town it was, but it was like a 4-bed hostel in the middle of nowhere, and we're about to go to sleep, and then all of a sudden, this odor comes up out of the air, and it smells like a goddamn butcher shop. And, we can't tell what's going on, and so I peer my head out of my little bunk bed, and a couple other heads sort of come down, and there's Scott, and he's lathering in this beef towel, and this food product. And then so we look at Scott, and we say, Scott, what are you doing? And Scott, with a straight face, with all the confidence in the world, says, I'm treating my sunburn with beef towel. I mean, doesn't even grab an eyelash. And so the point of the story, that right there, is classic Scott Shapiro. And I'll tell you why. Because Scott Shapiro is innovative. Scott Shapiro is confident. Scott Shapiro is a problem solver. And he's not the kind of guy that's going to let some strange looks or other people's opinion tell him what's right and what's wrong. And for that, I very much admire you. And most of all, Scott Shapiro loves beef. And, that's part of it. So Sue, you have chosen yourself a great guy. But Scott, you too have chosen yourself a great woman. And this speech wouldn't be complete unless I said some remarks about Sue. While we're at it, let me do that. So Sue is a committed girlfriend. Sue is very in tune with Scott. Do people here know that Sue has actually adopted a spiritual outlook that she learned by being with Scott? She's taken classes, she's studied materials, she's become familiar with age-old traditions with her new faith. And I'm talking about going paleo. Sue, you have denounced processed sugars and carbohydrates in a way that no other woman can. And you are making your dad happy. And for that, I salute you. But in all seriousness, I think your decision to pursue Judaism is admirable. To explore faith along someone you love is fantastic. And, I'm Jewish, so on behalf of Judaism, I'd just like to say welcome to the club. We've been waiting for you. Us Jews are not competitive, but let's just say that having Sue on our team is kind of like when Babe Ruth got traded to the Yankees from the Red Sox. So, Scott, it was a great deal. Your commission check is in the mail. Good work on putting that one together. But in all seriousness, Sue, you're a wonderful person. You're going to be a great lifelong best friend for Scott. You're a compassionate teacher. You're an incredibly loyal partner, and I think you guys are going to be fantastic. So, in conclusion, I'd like to make a toast as if that all wasn't a toast. And what I'd like to say is, if you have a glass, if you could please raise it. If not, you could just imagine that you have a glass raised. But Scott and Sue, you're both role models. You're wonderful together. I've learned a lot from spending time with you. And Scott, if you've learned anything from this soon-to-be marriage, I hope it's that not all good things in life can be bought off Amazon Prime. What I'd like to do is raise our glasses to Scott and Sue. I'm happy for you. I genuinely believe in you. I love you both. And I'm looking forward to seeing you two spend the rest of your lives together. Mazel tov and cheers.
Thank you, Chad. That was a phenomenal story of the sunburn treatment. Now this sunburn